Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Probably everyone experienced the car buying process, and the biggest mistakes people actually making when buying a used car. Probably I listed few of them, and out of them there could be a subsections. Could be why those mistakes are made. But the number one would be people are always looking for the cheapest deal possible in the market. Number two would be rushing in a process when buying a used vehicle. Number three would be not arranging refundable deposit with the seller. Number four would be not checking seller's reputation online, credibility and presence online. And number five, not checking MOT history, maintenance history, if it has both keys, and what else you think? So, regards to these, I can also mention about, let me elaborate. Once they actually get into the seller, not checking overall vehicle condition. And these probably would be most 6 common mistakes. And you can go a bit further, so I can quickly run through. Looking for cheapest deals, mistake number one. Rushing in a process when buying a vehicle. Not arranging refundable deposit. Not checking seller's credibility, presence online. Not checking MOT history, service history, both keys, and last, maintenance completion record. And when they're actually moving into the deal, not checking vehicle's overall condition. Let's just unpack slightly all of these. So the 6 vital points and why the issues actually happening afterwards, and the disputes are raising between the buyer and the seller is basically as following. Seller thinks he's looking the cheapest deal possible in the market. So what does it mean? So that means probably you will get a basic entry vehicle with basic spec. There's always a reason why that vehicle is cheaper than average market value, same specs, same sort of trim vehicle, which obviously will reflect in a price. Like on Auto Trader, you will have a fair price, good price, high price. There always are reasons why, you know. Here we're talking about into the point number 4, checking sellers' credibility, reliability and presence online. So that would be branding, and in what condition actually vehicle is described, you know. So that means you have to look, as a buyer, you have to look a bit carefully what you actually purchasing, what's actually, not what they're advertising about a car, but what actually is done to the vehicle. What I mean, most of the sellers making a huge mistake, which drives me nuts, because it's a minefield out there, right? And to pick the right vehicle, you need to look as the biggest value you can get out of the price of the vehicle, out of all of your selected vehicles. What I mean by this is, like I said, most of the sellers, technically they're selling how long they've been in the business, what they've done, how many cars they have in a stock, how many cars they selling, and etc. etc. They selling basically who they are, not actually selling the vehicle. You know, by selling the vehicle I mean how good the tires is, how many miles they left, how many miles you will get out of them 2-3 years. Has it been serviced recently? Will it be serviced? Has it previous maintenance been done, like timing belt, gearbox oil, or diff oils, or transfer case oil on a certain specific vehicles? So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about value in a vehicle. You know, so they're not selling the vehicle, they're selling themselves, right? You know, so you as a buyer, you wanna find out the best value, not the cheapest price, because I guarantee you, everyone who, what I mentioned through these 6 points, if you are one of them who bought a vehicle, you will make a mistake, you will have complaints, you will have problems, you will have problems with finance company. If you have a claim, or you think the car is not as described, etc, etc, etc. And by not checking the vehicle, you will shoot yourself in the foot in the long term. In regards to that, I will explain later. So that's what you should be looking, not the cheapest price, but the best value for the money. So that means mostly is the vehicle maintenance, if it's up to date. So what also I mean, if it has full main dealer service history, both keys, and the last service done, MOT and MOT advisories actually completed. You know, obviously first 3 years, obviously the vehicle will be fairly new. On first 3 years in UK, you don't need an MOT. So that means you would be relying highly on a service history. So the one fact to go for, I would never recommend you buying a vehicle without service history, part of the service history. Again, depends how old is the vehicle, but in general base, it doesn't matter how old is it, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 3 years. You know, if you want at least to be on a 9 of the 10 times, you want to be on a right car, and at least 90% of the issues with that vehicle, again depends how old it is, are rectified, or at least followed correct main dealers or manufacturers service schedules. So you know this vehicle has been serviced according to manufacturers guidelines, and the work has been done. Obviously certain things like disc and pads, tires, you can find it somewhere else, and anyone pretty much can do it, even you, as long as they are good quality parts. If you're going to start putting cheap parts on, then you'll have a brake squeaks, the pads will wear out much quicker. Same would apply to the brake discs. So these are just the small maintenance things which can be done pretty much anywhere, but as long as they're done and good quality parts are fitted, it's fine. So if you will follow these basic steps, not rushing your decision, not jumping into the finance loop, right? Because once you get in a phone call with the finance company, they will get you 1,000 cars available from they not approved, but they saying so, they're approved sellers. It's just simply people who are brokers, because pretty much every seller in the UK is a broker for the finance, so everyone gets a commission. You know, so they will drive you to the fairy tale where they say, look, we have these cars, you're ready to buy. And that's where the mistakes are happening, because you just, in illusion, you're buying a used vehicle, but you're not thinking, because you're in illusion, it's like you're buying a vehicle, but you're not realizing you're buying a used car. It's not a new vehicle. Even some new cars has some defects, you know, but obviously all new cars has warranty, and seller's warranty would be much less in terms of what you actually will cover, because it's a used car. Same as the manufacturer's warranty running out every year, you got less and less items covered, like battery, exhaust, brakes, wear and tear parts, wear and tear parts like brakes, disc and pads, clutch, friction plates, all friction materials, right? They just straight after. Some cars starting out from 6 months after a year, and you have less and less items covered. Same like headlights or bulbs, fuses. So really basic, really minimal, not minimal, but basic electrical equipment. So none of you can expect buying a used car. I mean, obviously, if it's some manufacturers has up to 7-year warranty or up to 5-year warranty based on a mileage limit. Some of them, like Hyundai, has unlimited mileage warranty for 5 years. So obviously, I'm not talking about these vehicles who have that sort of warranty in place, where if you're buying 3-4 years old, you still have some sort of warranty on it. Again, if that vehicle has been serviced with manufacturer's recommendations, and not just by you, but if you read if you open your service record book, right, or if you go on your if you go digital service and you go, most of the cars have digital owner's manual in basically in your infotainment system, right? So click in, type search servicing requirements, and you will find out that it's only can be completed by IMI registered garage or registered mechanic, whether the mobile mechanic or independent garage or approved repair, etc. So if it's been serviced or maintained outside main dealer network. So if it will be serviced by you, there will be no warranty, you know, because it depends on the situation. Probably if you have something silly like, I don't know, straightforward thing like alternator, let's say for instance, a starter mode, they might not budge, but when it will come with the gearbox issues, clutch issues, engine issues, oil pressure issues, which is complicated gray area. It can be interpreted, it can go either way. You can be left stranded with the huge debt or repair bill. So that's why it's important who's actually servicing your vehicle. So if those criteria were not met, the warranty will be void, even if you assumed you have it, but maybe the seller didn't point out, or you haven't done your due diligence, which it's your responsibility to check that. It's not seller's pretty much responsibility to do that, to tell you it's out of manufacturer's warranty. They don't really technically know. They're selling a used car. Their responsibility, the vehicle has to be road legal, has to be serviced, they have to be serviced, they have to be some sort of service history, or by consumer law, it have to be in a reasonable condition, obviously for the age and mileage. You know, if you don't do certain things, it's your fault. If you don't do car inspection before purchase, it's your fault. I will explain you why. You don't have to do it, but then when you will be stranded one day, when you will be asked certain question from finance company, then you will understand why you need to do pre-purchase inspection, because it's your responsibility on certain due diligence issues, because the vehicles are not new, they are used, they're used completely differently by different drivers, by different companies, some of them ex-hire vehicles, some of them taxi vehicles, and those vehicles will be the price range will significantly change, you know. And this is what I'm saying. When you rush in a deal looking for the cheapest thing, you will have problems, you know. So never do these mistakes. What I just described about maintenance, why you should be what we only from Carexamer, we only advise vehicles to be purchased with full main dealer service history or specialist only. Why? Because, like I said, 9 of the 10 times you will get at least to the good vehicle where you would expect the vehicle had been maintained well enough during the course of the vehicle's age or usability, and basically what I wanna say, and that is actually super crucial, right? Main aspect of the vehicle is that service history, both keys, clean vehicle, is less as possible owners keepers. By rushing the process, I mean, is that will be number two what I'm saying. Number one was looking for the cheapest deal, right? Never do that. Then moving into rushing the process when buying a car. So that means how do people's mind work? Suddenly you are in just that adrenaline rush. I need a new car. When you are in this mind, into that adrenaline rush, you're forgetting all of these issues. Maintenance, both keys, you just want a new car, you're looking for the cheapest deal. You're not even actually specifically settled on specific make and model, which is crucial again, because when you're going to start filtering out the search, finding the right spec, finding the right color, what you'll find out, there's not much of a choice left anymore. You know, most of the vehicles will be on Auto Trader. On the rest of the, like, Car Gurus, what else we have, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, Motors, right? That will be the most. Then you will have some, like on some not petrol heads, what was that, I can't remember anymore. But then you have all the loads of shit ones will be on a Facebook. Then there will be, some of them would be crossing over like on a Motors and Car Gurus because they're paying some membership. Then obviously will cross over to some of AA sites and cross over on RSC. Will be same minefield will be mixing across all of them, you know. But the main search obviously would be all the trade pretty much would be an Auto Trader, and some trustful private sellers would be also an Auto Trader, most of them, because that's where people mostly are searching for vehicles, at least in a reasonable condition, if I can say so. And then obviously you have the eBay thing, which is again where people bought some shit cars, they put them back again and they reselling them, you know, because they had head gasket issues or oil and water mixing. I'm just talking about some older vehicles, you know, and because you're rushing on number two one, on a point two, where I'm saying people making rush decisions, looking for cheapest price, then you're running into the, because of those you already you've been ignorant, and then you run into that problem when you when you rushing, you're not arranging right things with the seller. You trust in seller drags you into that mood thing where the sun starts shining, into that zone of adrenaline again. You are addicted, you know, they're saying, yeah, the car is good, and you believe it, and you're trapped into this zone like a rat in a spinning wheel, you know. And then you're not arranging refundable deposit, or you're paying refundable deposit, maybe even £500 or £1,000, which shouldn't be the case. It should be at least probably not more than 10% to 5% of the vehicle's overall value. Normally all of the car supermarkets will charge you like £100, you know. That's what you really need. You need about 48 to 72 hours to go and have a look, you know. If you're still not sure, just extend it, you know, again, so they're not putting it in a market. And for those people who are on the rush, ignoring certain things, haven't been stunned by sellers, they put in deposit and it turns out to be non-refundable. Let's say it's £500, and then you're in that zone when you went to have a look at the car, something goes out, or you find something better, or maybe you've done the inspection and the car turns out to be not as described, right? Let me change this over. I still got sun in my eyes. Apologize for that. Then you basically potentially will lose your refundable, non-refundable deposit, I mean. And then you have these people, then you have these buyers who not checking seller's credibility, everything because of you rushing, you're thinking you're just gonna buy the car. Used car, it's not new car. It's not a milk, it's not your everyday essentials where you just simply run in a supermarket and buy it. You know, you can only trust your instincts and just buy essentials every day, what you really need for everyday living. You know, a used car, it's a second biggest purchase for most of the people, and it doesn't matter how much it costs, £1,000 or £100,000, million, 2 million, 3 million, etc. For every person who will make these high purchases, low purchases, they are still limited by amount of money they want to spend on a car, and lastly, they want the vehicle to be not as described, or because I'm explaining certain things, some certain logical things, where most of the people ignoring and running into the problems and disputes is because of ignoring rationality, right? And on those cases, you can only blame yourself. You know, if you're stupid enough, trusting somebody you don't know and buying a car, leaving a deposit, not checking seller's credibility and presence online, where you just type in the brand name and researching, you know, then you're stupid enough to do that. If that particular seller is not available somewhere online, you know, they're selling from home as trade, you know, what's wrong is that they don't have huge overheads like car supermarkets, let's say main dealer approved used cars, and then the big sellers like online sellers like Kazoo, Cinch, Car Shop, Car Giant, etc. Right, where they have huge overheads and preparation costs, etc. With the small sellers, you'll find an auto trader when you type in when I'm talking about seller's credibility and presence online, you will type in, you'll see you're not going to find too much, you know. And would I be buying from these people? We check many cars. I mean, depends what you want, you know. Again, it's just you have to do your due diligence. If the more likely you have a bigger hassle from these people, they will start ignoring you when something goes wrong, will drag the case. You know, most of it's hard enough to deal with the big players in a game, you know. Then imagine how small sellers can play your game with you. You'll be exhausted, feel misled, you'll feel awful, you know. But most of the time you end up with some sort of litigation, which is more stupid thing, you know. It could actually end up to, you know, because your mistake, you know, because not checking certain things. Every car will break down at some point, right? But you can, by ignoring the main points of when buying a used car, you will be the biggest loser. I can guarantee you. We helped so many people, you know, and they nearly fall for it, you know. And then moving into the not checking MOT history, ignoring it has only one key, it should have two by insurance reasons, and last maintenance completion. You know, when you're thinking, oh, I'm rushing, I'm doing this, I'm buying, that's the cheapest car, you phone in, you go in there, put in £500 deposit, then you're buying this vehicle, and then you're ending up, it needs all tires, it needs all discount pads, it needs timing belt, it needs a spare key, it needs transfer case oil replacement, you know, it needs a service, and who's the loser? So now you will need all the money to get this vehicle. Even those are basic maintenance things, they should be done, you know. So that's why you have fair price, you know. And then the more likely you bought a car without a service history, or there's only part of the service history, and then you have these Mickey Mouses who done the servicing, the maintenance, like Quick Fit or some other chains like Halford's garages, you know. I mean, when specialist does, or main dealer, at least you're informed about certain things. You know, when you go to the main dealer specialist, they will do your software updates, you know, then you know the vehicles will be up to the certain level. If there is a service bulletin or recall, it will be sorted. I'm not talking about safety recalls. There's some service bulletins where some issues should be carried out, and if there is something ongoing, if you have a good relationship with the main dealer, they will do certain things for you, even might be slightly out of warranty, etc. You know, and obviously there is that credibility that where the main dealer can actually trace that vehicle has been there all the time, and the servicing has been done. You know, the maintenance has been done up to the standard, and up to the dates required, and mileage is required. So the choice basically is yours, you know. So these are the basics, what you need to do. Do not trust sellers, right? As they selling cars, their job is to sell you a car, you know, and they only selling, they don't prep them, they don't maintain them. The person in a showroom and the person in a small 20 pitch yard with vehicles, I guarantee you they will not prep the vehicle for you. They will only keep this vehicle with all the maintenance issues open, which you will end up doing, and they more likely might not even know, because they don't care, you know. You will just buy this vehicle, and the rest of the things will be down to you. Same thing like the guy in the showroom. He only trusts, and you know, they all talk great, you know. It's lovely to have a good conversation. It's lovely to feel good, having a good customer service. Probably when you go to the smaller places, you will not have that, you know. It's whether attitude is take it or leave it, right? But these guys who are selling you, they talk to you nice. You're having a coffee, warm place, warm environment, no wind blowing, when doing a deal. They selling what they assume is being given to them, but it's used, right? So they assuming the vehicle has been prepped right, it's been maintained right, the vehicle is they assume the vehicle is good because it's coming from the main dealer approved, used approved, it's all perfect. But it's never the case, you know. Well, we from experience, we want that to be the case. It's rarely are. It's rarely are. Obviously, everyone tries to do things, but used car market was always a shambles, you know. Since I always saying from the mass production, when Henry Ford started mass produce Model Ts and everyone else followed, the used car market was always shady. There was always people trying to try on, you know. Even now, it is a bit, I'm not saying less possible, it's still possible, you know. There is law, and there is a way of play the game, if you know what I mean. And somebody who will always want to play the game, remember, you will be the biggest loser. You will, because you will spend the most time running like a rat and chasing them. They will just ignore. They will drag the times. You got legal response times from 30 days to respond to you, you know. They can send in 14 days. Yeah, thank you for we received your letter, or we received your email. We will respond in a due course, or in the legal response loop, right? And no one will take the car just like that back. You know, you always have to read terms and conditions, the warranties, the warranty terms and conditions, the warranty amount. Does it actually cover the engine failure? You know, does it actually would cover the gearbox failure? I'm talking about the claim cost of the claim. Will that claim through that particular warranty company, what the smaller dealer provided you, technically in the cost of that vehicle? It's not they consumer right. They have a consumer right warranty up to 6 months, right? And they always add in extra thing. If that obviously warranty would not cover that particular thing, it's down to the used car seller, right? But if that cost per claim would actually cover that engine replacement, like on a Range Rover, you need at least 10 grand per claim, you know. On gearbox, you need at least 7 grand per claim. Obviously, when you have to evaluate, obviously, what I'm talking about, I'm just generalizing. You need to evaluate the cost of the vehicle, right? And then the biggest parts like engine replacements, gearbox replacements. You know, those would be the biggest things which can go wrong if the things getting messy. You know, and that can be when you're buying a car without service history, it's not been serviced. The seller says it's been serviced, but actually you're driving the car away and there's no oil in there. You know, we had these situations. It says, yeah, it's been serviced. You pull the dipstick out before starting on a cold start. There's no oil. They said you just service the vehicle. So if you're buying something like that, you know you will blow up the engine at some point, or after 6 months, something gonna happen with the engine and things like that. That's why it's important to trace back every single service history, not just stamp book, but it can be matched with the invoices, because you can end up buying something. Add an example. Somebody bought a Porsche a while ago. At that point, we wasn't doing the inspections. But at that point, I was working in breakdown systems company, one of the biggest ones, and in the UK. And that Porsche had a gearbox issue, and the guy bought this vehicle. The book was stamped, and he'd never been in a Porsche. So it's important, again, if something looks suspicious, you don't use an inspection. If the service stamps look similar, or the writings look similar, or everything looks kind of quite neat and clean, and no invoices to match up the stamps and dates and mileages, pick up the phone up the main dealer. The dealer will use all the GDPR shit, right? And but at least they will reconfirm yes and no when you will tell them the dates. Has that vehicle been there? Has this vehicle been there? Has this vehicle been there? You know, so at least you can do your due diligence. You know, so you don't trust these things. The people, the sellers, there's some shady ones. I'm not talking. I mean, sometimes you can have you arrive in the most weirdest place, and you're thinking, God, no, you never buy the car from there. But the guys are really nice. So you never. Sometimes that stereotyping can make you really not really in a nice way. You think, why would I was thinking about that person that way? But I mean, in general, that's how it is. There's also, I'm kind of going away from the topic. There's certain regions where you should be really careful buying vehicles, right? Again, it's a stereotype, but it's true. You know, certain areas has quite high bad reputation of selling poor vehicles. You know. And you can end up in a rat race, you know, be in a very bad position. Reason I'm talking about all these bad positions is we always have people who will say, oh, you don't need an inspection, you know, it's just waste of time. Even sellers will say it's a waste of time. Why are you wasting your time? And I'm coming to the position of, when you need to prove, was the fault there? Was the fault present at the time of the purchase? And if you know what I'm talking about, if you have been through this process yourself and been taking somebody through the small claims court, depends on the price, up to 10 grand you can go through the small claims court, right? Anything above, you have to pretty much have a solicitor prep the case, and the things are getting a bit not really pretty much straightforward for you, right? Every case would take a year or two, right? I will get in a bit details for the litigation process, how you will be messed around if somebody really wants to mess you around. But if there will be any disputes, right? Anything up to 6 months, you kind of okay. You if something goes wrong with the engine gearbox, the seller simply, if that warranty would not pay out, as they will more likely not, depends, because there's money. There's actually only few warranty companies, but all of them are in UK in a trade when it comes to the trade policies and those specific extended warranties. Everything goes through the brokers. Everyone is a broker. They're not underwriters, they're just brokers, and they get in some sort of commission, because what we have as well, we sell car extended warranty through it's been run by Auto Protect. It's called customer protect warranties. So and even they more likely probably from buying that middleman status from AIG or Allianz or something like that, most of them will, so that means you have like Tom, Dick and Harry brokers, 10 of them, which actually comes from one thing. Like more likely Auto Protect will, because you can get if you sell a lot of warranties, you can take out, and they will back you up. You can put your name on, right, and sell it as, let's say, I don't know, John Warranties, right, and they will come from Auto Protect, and they will issue the claims by you using your branding, and this is how most of them are run. So you need to look in the terms and conditions, especially when it comes to the vehicles over 5-year-old, up to 60. These are the mileages up to 60,000, up to 80,000. You can still have some sort of half decent extended warranties, but when it comes to 100,000, anything over 10 years, you pretty much there's not many. You will not have a great coverage. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. When it comes to you need full main dealer history or specialist only. This is how everything adds up in the long term. If you haven't been in the business, in the used car business, and sales and maintenance and inspections are completely different from repairing vehicles. So you're preventional, you're more educational, educating used car buyer what they have to pay attention to, and like I said, if you buy something, a dog, right, you will have problems, and none of the extended warranties will cover you. And even if they do, they are small claim limits. They're up to £500, £1,000, right? Anything above 10 years, 100,000 miles. So if you're buying a Range Rover or some sort of XK Jag, the 3-litre diesel, right, Jaguar engine would be again 5-8 grand. Range Rover engine replacement, I'm talking about refurbished, not remanufactured, but refurbished is different. Remanufactured is, refurbished is they took 2 engines, took the best parts out of it, replaced what was necessary to replace, put new head gasket kit on. There will be no new rings fitted, anything like that, right? So it will be better, probably better solution, slightly better solution than putting just a used engine in there. Again, it depends on what position you are. Remanufactured would mean everything, the cylinder head, block, water pump, timing belt, all those parts will be remanufactured so as new. So you'll have new pistons, new crank. It will be the balanced, and everything's would be assembled together as new. Same as the head, camshafts, the valves, and all the springs necessary for valves and hydraulic lifters, etc. So that will be as new. That's what remanufactured means. Refurbished means certain things, good, bad, something what needs to be replaced, being replaced and assembled together. More likely with new chain and new timing belt kit, a new water pump, etc, etc. Depends on the situation, depends on the make and model and the specific engine requirements and manufacturer guidelines, if they do follow them. So coming back to, I will do a different video regards, but I will slightly jump into, I came into why you need to do the inspection, right? When you, let me run through today's discussion process. The point of today's discussion is to, oh, this sun is annoying me, but nevertheless, biggest mistakes people make when buying a used car. Number one, looking for cheapest deals in the market. Number two, rushing the process when buying a car. Not arranging refundable deposit with the seller. Not checking seller's credibility and presence online. Not checking MOT history, service history, ignoring the aspect there's only one key, and any maintenance up to date, what that vehicle specific needed, is not carried out. And then lastly, they're not checking the vehicle's overall condition before they're buying the vehicle. And I will stay to this point 6, what I'm saying, why it is important, where seller will say, oh, you don't have to do it, we have warranty, you have consumer rights. Yes, I agree, you do. But when something will happen and you will start panic and you don't want this car in the first 30 days, the more likely seller will ask you an independent engineer's report, because they're scared as shit, you know. Because I was working with few used car sellers, right? They're even more pickier than normal used car buyer. Anything I rewrite down as potential repair cost and something's not right, they want reduction of it. You know, if your car is $5 grand and we found it needs $2 grand repairs, they want that $2 grand off. But when we will do the report for you and that vehicle needs $2 grand of repairs, they will not do it, and they will not sell you that vehicle for $3 grand. Take it or leave it. 9 of the 10 times sellers do fix what we recommend, what potential repair costs we have provided for that vehicle. There are sellers who will say you, yes, we will fix everything what's been told and needs to be done. Obviously, we take in considerations age and mileage of the vehicle, what's fair, what's not fair. You know, depends on how much is that vehicle potentially, and what's actually already been done to that vehicle by the seller, right? Which is important. Take into consideration fair wear and tear. Is that reasonable? What overall vehicle's condition it is according to this maintenance records, etc, etc. Would that be fair to ask seller to rectify, right? But at least you know what is wrong with the vehicle. You know what I just said. Seller, when using our service, they will want everything off you when they buy a car off you, you know. But when you buy a car off them, they reverse engineer their psychology, right? So they hate us basically. And what I'm saying is, the point of the inspection is to document what was the condition of the vehicle at the time of the purchase. An inspection will document all the issues like oil leaks, water leaks. Those are basic things, right? All the standard maintenance things, tires, disc and pads, which would be negotiation process to get them sort these things out. And if there are issues, because sometimes You buy a car, you don't know what's in the electrical system. You know, most modern cars has between 20 to 50 electric control modules in the car, which are communicating to each other through CAN networks, flexi rays, etc. and etc. You don't know what's going on in there. You know, certain things, certain fault codes. I mean, certain faults will not flag up, and certain fault codes would not bring the any subsystems warning light on our ABS or airbag, engine management system, cruise control, etc. and etc. There are also, you have convenience and convenience systems. You have infotainment systems. Again, infotainment system will not flag up the issue. There might be some issue with CD not working or the GPS signal. That if there's no GPS signal, you have no the pointer, the arrow on the map. You know, there could be DAB radius aerial issue. Again, you'll find sometimes it picks up the signal, sometimes it not, or maybe if it's got TV aerial, etc., etc. So certain things you will never see it, and you might never even know, because sometimes when you go to even garages, they just don't care. They just will do what you're told to do. If there was a problem, like I don't know, you have an engine management line, they will only refer to that, and that's it. You know, they will not look into specific aspects of the vehicle, you know, and they will just ignore that, and you will never know. So, but we obviously read all these issues, everything will be reported. So that means, like I said, drivability will be road tested, there's 2 diagnostic scans, vehicle is raised, previous physical accident damage checks, paint thickness readings, your paint thickness report of the vehicle, any panels being resprayed, damage, if there wasn't a damage, how good was the repair, based on the readings of paint thicknesses and what physically can be checked and seen on a structural component. So no one will tell you this, right? Obviously it depends on the inspection packages, but the main thing is it is documented, right? If there is like issue, let's say with NOx sensors, which could be a latent issue, and after certain duty cycles, 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles, it could trigger the engine warning light, and the engine could go in a limp mode, right? There's also some issues with lambda sensors, some air leaks, fuel system lean, fuel system reach fault codes, which could be a nightmare. Again, they will be latent, you could call them latent, very intermittent faults. But once those are picked up, I'm just giving you some sort of very worse situation, right? Or gearbox pressure issues, right? Where intermittently the car will lose power and would not drive. So at least they are documented. And if the seller says, okay, it's fine, but at least when it will come to the dispute, right? You know that these were the faults at the time of the purchase. And when let's say you bought a car, even seller is liable for 6 months. And if you complained or even not complained, right? And let's say engine goes pop. Example, Jaguar XF or XK, those 3-litre engines, they have a special lubrication injectors inside the engines and one valve outside. If one of those sort of fails, I noticed on one occasion there's no warning light on it. It means the lubrication will be stopped to the pistons from inside, and that could result catastrophic engine failure, right? So certain things, when something like that happens, if that is recorded at the time of the purchase, that's been recorded. When something goes wrong after 6 months, because the car has to technically last reasonable amount of time, and if that particular issue caused significant engine failure or significant gearbox failure, at least you will have a record to go back to, and that can be proven. Because what happens when you go to the warranty company, and let's say even after those 3 months, you have a claim, they will ask you to go to do independent inspection on that vehicle before they will take this issue further, right? And sometimes they do ask questions. It depends on the situations. They have about 6 questions, and they ask, was the fault present at the time of the inspection? I mean, at the time of the purchase. And there's some other questions I can't remember now from the top of my head. How this fault actually developed, when it developed, what is the cost of the repairs, what is cost of the parts, and who would be liable for these repairs. You know, obviously, again, it depends on a situation. You know, if you can't complain about bulb went out. You know, more likely not. Like electric mirrors stopped working. You know, depends on probably which side of it. But you know, when it comes to the disputes, at least you can prove it. You know, and that was the worst scenario. I'm saying, at least you have a record for you as a due diligence. In what condition is the vehicle overall? What issues are there? What are the maintenance issues? What you will need in the short term, long term, potential repair costs. 9 of the 10 times the seller, like I said, would rectify. 9 of the 10 times for private sellers, they would not rectify. At least you can negotiate on a price or just walk away. You know, it depends on the situation. Every situation is completely different. It varies from how old is the vehicle, or mileage of the vehicle. Again, like I said, maintenance records on that vehicle and how well it's been looked after, and an MOT history. You know, so that's why you need a pre-purchase inspection to be done before the purchase, so you know the vehicle is as described, because the seller will prep the vehicle for their benefit, not for your benefit. You know, and if you do know these silly things, they will be rectified before you buy this vehicle. So that's why you're in a pain in the ass to the seller. The sellers, they do not like it, you know, but when it comes to when they recommend it, they do recommend us, right? But they don't want us to turn up to their places, especially the people where we inspected the vehicles. And because I understand their position, it just creates a hassle. They need to go and fix something what they don't want to fix. There will be extra cost involved to preparing this vehicle, you know. But obviously, our job is just to document what's wrong with the vehicle, potential repair costs, the way it drives, overall condition, so you not having the problems later unexpectedly. Some people might only will find out those issues after 6-8 months, when their first time will go into the garage, or maybe by checking oil levels, going into the garage on a next service, you know. But you will get the vehicle's condition report at the time of the purchase, and if there is a dispute later, you know, then you can prove certain things that the fault was there at the time of the purchase, you know, because certain issues like latent defects with some intermittent faults, they could appear like shortly down the line, like after months. Depends on what kind of fault it is, you know, with what part of the sensor or actuator it is. It varies, you know, and at least you can go back to the seller, and or on occasions it will be written down. If that particular like knock sensor will fail, they will rectify it, you know. At least it makes life already easier. They already acknowledged it, you know, they know. If something goes wrong, you go back and will be sorted. Because then when there's certain issues happening, like DPFs getting blocked, we've seen many things with EGR issues. Vehicles have slight loss of power. You know, you can only find that out when you have probably right knowledge, or somebody knowledgeable was driving a car at some point. Because if you don't know pretty much a vehicle, you would assume that's how the vehicle is. If there's no warning lights coming on, you would assume this is how it is, but technically it has a EGR issue, and then it will start blocking DPF. You know, when the DPF starts blocking, there's always cause of something causing it. You know, sometimes there's a micro cracks in it, which are very, very rare issues, and that's probably who has these. Probably if you have DPF problems, ever had it, you know, they get blocked after 300 miles, 400 miles. You know, but mostly it's always something causing it. It's with EGR or EGR. Inlets are blocked, and it depends on a design of the systems, you know, which could be costly. Oil leaks, coolant leaks, you know, which one you wanna sort of pretty much stay away from oil leaks when buying a used car, but depends how severe they are, you know. You can only find that out on the inspection, or unless if you are clueless. I mean, if you're clueless, you're clueless, you know, you don't know. But if you are enthusiast, you might probably go underneath the vehicle and have a look. Sometimes certain things you can't see it if you don't have the right equipment, and that is basically the minefield out there, you know. And main thing, our job is to protect you when you buy a used vehicle, so you know what condition is the vehicle, the way it drives, diagnostic scans, and if you're paying a fair price, you know. What's the fair price? The price is fair. It's not how much the vehicle is, but like I said, if the vehicle is has full main dealer service history, both keys and vehicle going through the inspection, is found to be in a good overall vehicle condition, then obviously the price is fair. It's whether you say the price is good or price is overpriced, you know. If the vehicle has certain standard visual, external visual, interior, overall, and all the electrical systems, then the price is right, you know. And when the things start getting not right, if the vehicle has some faults found on inspection which needs to be rectified, then obviously it becomes, doesn't matter whether the vehicle was overpriced or it was fair or the price was good, there are issues with the vehicle which needs to be rectified, you know. And if you ever experience anything, even if it doesn't have a locking nut or it doesn't have a spare wheel, you know, when you drive the car 300 miles away from the place, and when you start raising those issues, you know, everything you want to deal with, you'll be wasting your time, your money. By the time they're gonna acknowledge there's something is missing and needs to be doing, or some places will ask you to take the vehicle back. That means you bought a car, you're going back again, or you're dealing with some stupid stuff, locking nut is missing, right? And then you're waiting for locking nut for months. Or certain things like dents or scratches. Some people buying cars and then they have issues with paintwork, they don't like this, they don't like that, then they start looking, something is not right. Some people just knew there are issues, the panel's not lining up, the headlights not lining up, bumper's not lining up, they're still buying a car, and then they want to do the car inspection afterwards. So logically, was why you bought this car. You know, if you see something is not right, you use your gut instinct and walk away. Just simply use walk away power. Even if you arrange the finance company will be the main place who will drive you into that illusion, right? Oh, we have 100,000, like I mentioned before, we have 100,000 cars available for you. Select the car, we'll get you the finance. These are the finance APRs. These are the people who will approve you on a finance. This is the car we will offer you. They will give you a list, you will choose it, and will walk away. It's not a new car. Remember, it's not a new car, you know. And everything is good. Everything sounds good until it goes wrong, and most of the time the things are going wrong, and people ending up with the biggest thing in all this purchase. You don't want to buy something which is not for you. not meant to be for you. The condition is not meant to be for you. And the time you will spend to get this vehicle back or rejected in first 30 days, trust me, you will never want that experience again in your life. Unless you bought it from some car supermarkets, the process will be slightly easier. But again, remember, they will always try and try again. Let us get this rectified. Let us get this rectified. You know, if you start acknowledging and you know yourself, it's not right. I don't want that condition or particular issue on this vehicle. I don't want them to. They had their opportunity to get this vehicle right at the beginning. They haven't. That means they cut the corners, right? So that means reject the vehicle, walk away, and buy something. The second time you will be more on the game, on the ball, you know. So it's across the board. Main dealers, smaller dealers, car supermarkets, is private sellers. It's a bit more hassle again with some trade sellers who are selling from homes. It's a bit more hassle, you know, because technically finance is the owner of the vehicle. You are just a keeper, you know, and the agreement is between you and the finance company. And there's nothing really much to do with the seller in a way, legally, right? So that means all the complaints you have to go through the finance company. And finance companies, in a way, I don't know, they're just stupid. They issue the finance to anything. Again, most of the finance companies, same as extended warranties, are just brokers. There's only a few underwriters who providing the finance from their own pocket, you know. Probably Deloitte's, Black Horse is the biggest, right? And there's other few which is not really that important. But I'm just saying, they will just take the money. They don't care. They will issue just finance to anything, you know. And then when you will start finding problems, especially when you'll find out when there's a bodywork issue, something else, and then you try to reject, that's where the problems are happening, you know. Because no one really wants to take this vehicle back. You will only, when you go through the not favorable rejection process, you will always lose the money, you know, because most of the times people who want to reject in the first 3-4 days, 7 days, they bought the wrong vehicle, you know, because they've been rushing and they might found something better. You know, then they're lying to the seller. You know, I understand the sellers as well. Then they're lying to finance companies. They keep making up the faults. The faults are there. We have inspected several vehicles. There's no fault. You know, there's no fault present at the time of the inspection. You're driving with the person for an hour, you know, and there's nothing wrong with what he says it is, you know. So it means the report will go against you, you know, and then you will complain and blame the inspector. You know, because you would assume inspector will simply write down there is a fault. Well, obviously not. It's a legally binding document. It on a rejection process, if it goes to the court, you know, and if there is a dispute, because it's not about report. The seller don't have to take the car. There is an independent report. They don't have to. If they think they're right, they can go through the legal process, right? And they can dispute this report if they want to, because technically it's professional opinion. You know, inspector is not a judge in a process, and he don't have to take this vehicle back. You know, if he assumes you making stuff up, and clearly there will be, on certain occasions, that you can only write down vehicle is not as described. But those, I mean, if you find certain things there, it's a bit of negotiation process. It doesn't mean always you can reject the vehicle based on those things. The vehicle have to be in a satisfactory condition, you know, and there's no really definition, you know. Can you reject the vehicle because it's got slight cracks on because of the age-related issues on the tires? Obviously not, you know. This is, you should have done inspection, and then seller would put you a new tires, or you would negotiate the price. But because you're a lazy bugger, you don't want to pay extra, for the price of the battery, you know, or for the price of the extra key, you don't want to do vehicle condition report, you know. And we have people phoning in, and because they're buying cheap cars, then they go into the small claims court, then they need reports, you know. To go into the small claims court, the report will cost you up to £500. For the, if you will need the expert to be invited as a witness, that would be £500. I mean, technically, that will be £1,000. You're buying a car for £2,000, right? Where there was a cooling system issue, and you bought it, not doing inspection. Who is an idiot? And then a year later, you blaming him because you assuming there was an issue. You know, you're just wasting your time and effort where you can spend more sensibly somewhere else. You know. By spending this money, adding this £1,000 and buy a better car, you know, or spending £200 on at least good inspection, 200-point mechanical electrical check, vehicle raised, 2 diagnostics are carried out, one before the road test, one after the road test, 15-minute road test are carried out, vehicle is left running during the most process of during the inspection time, you know, and then the road test is done after all the ground checks and vehicle has been raised, is carried out, so everything heats up, warms up. You just only need like leaks, in worst scenario, head gasket issues, transmission issues, a vehicle going to limp mode. I have been several times and doing inspection where the vehicles actually broke down and go in a limp mode. There was only one occasion where I just about managed to get back. I mean, 2 actually, right? But when vehicles losing power, there's a gearbox selection issues and it goes in a limp mode. You have to restart and get and get somehow back. You know, that's reality. You rather want me, for the price of the battery, you want me to break down in a vehicle than you taking this vehicle, because you will drive the vehicle normal. We don't road test the vehicle as you would drive home. There's a process the way we road test the vehicle. We heavily drive up to the legal speed limit to test the vehicle under different engine loads, different road surfaces. We're using different various selections for the transfer boxes, auto, manual, depends, the clutch operation, braking, anything which is not right, any vibrations, audible noises, stupid thing, because our responsibility is to you. We want you to buy a good car. So that's why I'm spending all this time, because people constantly making stupid mistakes over and over again. And then you have these people who are super smart saying you don't need an inspection, you don't know what you're talking about, or the sellers, main dealers who are saying the people not qualified, they don't know what they're doing, you know. We have this time and time again. But our goal is, they can say whatever they want, you know. We're looking after you. We want you to buy a good car. And everyone with who we work, with who I do work, works according to specific blueprint, how the inspections of our 4 packages has to be done, how they have to be carried out. All the potential repair costs are provided. The process, the blueprint, it's like you're going to McDonald's. You'll get the same burger in Glasgow or in Poole, right? And that's it. That's how we work here. And you can go somewhere else. You can go to RAC, you can go to AA, you can go to Primark like Click Mechanic, right? You will get exactly what you will pay for. And the biggest difference of how we work in the market, we have sort of personal attention to the detail regards the process, how the inspections are done. Potential repair costs are provided. We don't go and fail vehicles. You know, we look in, so you can get out the biggest value out of this vehicle. So you can have a fair situation and issues rectified before you collecting this vehicle, you know, or at least you know there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. Yes, you always have to bear in mind the people who think or ask what happened. Vehicle is as described, is guaranteed as described at the time of the inspection. What you do have to bear in mind is it's a used vehicle and the vehicles break down. And then you'll say, what's the point of inspection? It's a prevention. You're buying something where you shouldn't be buying, or you're buying something if there is potentially something wrong with the vehicle that it can be rectified. There's certain latent aspects, like deliberate cause of destruction, we can call it, deliberate interference, deliberately deleting certain aspects or certain engine, or interfering into engine management systems, deleting these items out, which highly likely will not come up, or on experience of the technician, there will be certain issues which will guide certain things out. You can have unplugged airbags. We physically don't check them because no one wants to look. I mean, if you're going to start stripping down the seller's vehicle, you can imagine what panic it will be. You know, there is already panic for them when the inspection goes on. Imagine you're going to start stripping, and you will never buy the car then, you know. If you have doubts, you can always ask seller, strip all the airbag trims and panels, you know. Inspector will have a look if there is certain issues present, you know. If you have doubts, or if you're running into these doubts, just don't waste your time, don't buy the car, right? Everything starts from first phone call, reputation, as I said, seller's credibility and presence online. Everything starts from basics. Everything starts with first impression. It's a gut instinct. It's not about just car, it's a process, right? If you think something is not right, just walk away. You know, there's sellers, they're super nice. They will be doing everything to make you feel, you know, it's not right, right? I've been in situations when I inspect the cars where sellers super nice. They're bringing you coffee. They're treating you literally like you're a king, right? They put you in an office, bringing you coffee, giving you biscuits, you know. But when you start looking at a vehicle, it's a dog. You know, so there is certain ways of psychological manipulations. You know, you need to just flag these things. Or if you haven't been to the sellers, you haven't done your due diligence, you rather lose the price of the battery, £200. You rather lose £200 where the seller is not right. You even just talking about psychological interactions, or certain behaviors, the way I will be treated on the time of the inspection. Remember, you can always ask us, how was the seller? You know, you will be treated accordingly the way I was treated at the time of inspection. And trust me, sometimes I haven't been treated nice at all. Sometimes I was thinking, look, I just don't want to do this thing anymore. You know, you've been abused. You've been called names. You know, you have to simply stop and just leave the inspection. You know, they've been not nice environments. You know, there's certain things where you have to defend yourself. You had to fight. I had to fight for the customers. You know, so literally physical fist fight, right? When you've been abused, right? Or you've been pushed and punched first, right? So as a defense mechanism, this is what I had to do for one customer. So it's not a nice environment, you know. And when you're going to buy a car, remember, if you have none of the due diligence, if you haven't even done your basic MOTs, and you maybe been so naive enough and you left the deposit, you go to the place and it's a shithole, right? And you're thinking, you don't even know the vehicle's maybe values. You just go there and seller drags you into this loop. The car's great, there's nothing wrong with the car, You know, you will waste your time and money on inspection if you start thinking about last minute pulling out tactics, right? Then you will end up buying this vehicle, and I guarantee you, you will buy something where you shouldn't be buying, you know. And like I said, this market is a minefield, you know. So that's why I'm saying, do your due diligence. Never rush the decision. If you're unsure, leave again refundable deposit. Go have a think. Don't pay cash, you know. Never buy the car. What I mean by don't pay cash, don't just give out all your money on a first day when you just seen the car and you've been involved in this rat race, driving an hour somewhere, hour and a half, on the last minutes when they open, closing in an hour, handing them 10 grand and then driving the vehicle back. You know, it's just, be calm, cool. There's so many cars. There is 7.5 million used cars sold every year, right, including trade. You know, probably most of the private transactions are not recorded. But just don't get into this addiction, into adrenaline rush. And when you don't think logically, you know, you should consider everything really, really carefully. Never buy on price. Buy on a value, maintenance history. Never leave refundable deposits. I mean, never leave deposit which is non-refundable. Research the seller, his presence online, the transparency and credibility by looking what people talking about online. Again, if you can't find too much about the seller and the price is kind of roughly what the same people, what other people selling, or people who is higher reputation selling, let's say it's £1,000, yeah, and you think, oh, you're gonna say £1,000? What's £1,000? And that will be, in 48 months, there will be £20 a month more on your payment, maybe even £10 more on your payment. Or if it's £2,000 more, and you're buying from reputable seller, right, with better value of the vehicle, what's been added value to the vehicle, what they actually have done, you know, that will be probably £40 more to your payments a month through 48 months period. You know, what did you save? Most likely everyone will take out finance, you know. Everyone always overpay. People don't look at their financial situation. They don't take in consideration the insurance cost for that vehicle. They don't take in consideration the maintenance cost of the vehicle, even starting from tires, oil changes, second key prices, right? But they're buying a car which they technically can't afford. So if you want to be one of those persons, then you more than likely just go and buy the car cheap as possible. Don't do any your due diligence checks. Be in this mode of zone of adrenaline rush, and when you don't think logically and you're just thinking how you're driving this brand new vehicle, the brand new used vehicle, because for everyone used vehicle is a new vehicle. You know, that's how they feel. That's the sensation of having something new. You know, it's new to you, but it's used to the seller, and for seller it's just another used vehicle. You know, so like I said, don't buy without service histories, part service histories. You can, it's your own risk. You think you're gonna save something money, down to you, you know. But like I said, if you want to be in a half decent vehicle, main dealer service history, doesn't matter how old the vehicle is, or specialist only, both keys, you know, then at least 9 of the 10 times you will be on reasonably looked well after the vehicle. It doesn't mean the vehicle has a full main dealer service history and it's 10-year-old or 15-year-old. It doesn't mean that vehicle will be in a good condition. You know, sometimes it can be tricky, I'm just talking about that 1% situations, 5% situations. You should, again, everything depends on the age and mileage of the vehicle. The older the vehicle is, the more likely there will be more wear and tear issues, right? Like cracked bushes, cracked suspension bushes, CV boots, which starts depreciating, perishing, I mean. And then you will have plays in ball joints, because after 60,000 miles, there is no more sort of warranty on the suspension parts on the vehicles, pretty much, right? So suspension going to start falling bits. If it's a motor-link like BMWs, Audis, after 60,000, trust me, you will start replacing something at least arm by arm or bush by bush. When you hit 10-year-old mark, there is a time when you will start changing bushes constantly until you will replace suspension in general. I'm just saying. And even if it has main dealer service history, especially when the vehicle gets older, there will be still some issues found. They will not be significant enough to reject more likely the vehicle, but there is something, at least you will know in the short term, long term, how much money you will have to sort of spend. Maybe you'll be able to still negotiate on the seller. Maybe something they can still replace. Depends on the situation, depends on the safety aspect. And lastly, remember, MOTs is just a legal requirement. There are people who abuse an MOT system. There are people who own MOT stations and they own garages and they sell cars as well. They will not record like heavy corrosions, some leaks. They sometimes can be everything clean, and there's a super heavy corrosions underside and they're not recorded. So I'm just saying, MOT is just a legal requirement, and there are people abusing the system for self-interest, for self-benefit. Especially, I would never buy the car from the garage, from the repairer, who is just the ordinary garage, because they will do some Mickey Mouse repairs. They can do. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying everyone I'm not saying you can put everyone in the same box. But as a rule of thumb, I would never buy the car from mechanic, because if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. As there can be certain things ignored and most likely will not up to the scratch. I can guarantee you that, So that's why I would never buy the car from repair shop, from the garage who's selling the vehicles, as they have. It's a conflict of interest, It doesn't mean the sellers who selling the cars, they don't have places where they repair it. They do, but I would avoid places where physically specializing on repairs, but they're selling cars outside their forecourt as another additional income. Because the more likely there will be issues, there will be engine repairs, there will be certain things done, and you don't want to buy the car which been messed around with the engine or gearbox. Normally indication in one position, the way how you look at it, in one way is good because it's repaired and fixed. Another aspect is it's being repaired, it's not being tested, it's gonna fail at some point again, and then you have these people been messing about with head gaskets or turbos. The more likely there's something latent which is gonna show up, or transfer boxes or gearbox repairs or DSG gearbox repairs. The more likely there will be something, and you don't want to buy the vehicle which has been messed around too much, because in most of the occasions is the person spent too much of money because the vehicle has been problematic and he's been kept spending the money at the point where garage said, look, just sell it. And then you're going to buy this particular vehicle and you will go through this roller coaster, So depends who did the repair. If it's a Porsche and they did, I don't know, engine repairs, you don't want to buy it if it's not a Porsche specialist or very reputable engine repairer specifically for those engines, or in general as a skilled place to do certain work which have a reputation in the market. They're doing an excellent job, and and that repair can be considered as a high repair to the very good standard according to manufacturers' guidelines or specifications. You know, I'm just saying there is a lot of things where people don't think and just assume. You know, I would never buy the car which is serviced at Quick Fit. I would never buy the car which is serviced at Halfords. Quick Fit's job is change tires, sell you tires. You know, same as Halfords, it's a quick maintenance things where you can quickly jump in to do something like changing disc and pads, where you don't want to spend the money on a main dealer. You know, you don't want to give those people to diagnose certain things and repair certain things. It's gonna go wrong. You know, I'm not certain. I'm just stereotyping. I'm just saying, I want to go to, like, I'm servicing my car at a Hyundai dealership. I can do it. I'm a qualified technician, and I'm registered on IMI register. What are the requirements for the main dealers when you're servicing the vehicle and using obviously main dealer's checklist and main dealer parts or OEM approved parts, and so but I just give it to them because I know my car is washed. I don't have to waste my time. I don't have to get dirty, and I know all the softwares will be updated. I will just remind them to do it. You know, I do what I do best, and I leave to people who do that every single day. You know, so that's why we only specialize with who we work on used vehicle inspections. We have the blueprint, which I designed, which you will not receive the service from anywhere else like it in the UK. You know, as the inspection packages would not include the value of what you're receiving somewhere else. Even you think, oh, that's a premium, but when you look at it, their premium is our standard inspection, like some Primark services, you know, out there, you know. So again, like I said, use quality service, use quality parts, use quality repairers, specialists or main dealers. Sometimes I would agree everyone makes some mistakes, but depends how you deal with them, you know. On this note, I think I'm gonna finish this long-winded conversation, but we already feel bored. But my job is to raise awareness for people to not get scammed, you know, when buying a used car, because we check the VIN numbers, you know, we check the paperwork, V5C, service history, we're taking pictures of them, you know. So your job would be doing a full car history check before you buy, and just asking for IDs, and rest of the things will be checked for you, and you can buy with the confidence. And remember, it's a used car, it can still break down, same as new cars break down. As long as you have backup with the good extended warranty, you can have a look on the Carexamer extended warranties, which are through the Auto Protect, Customer Protect product. Even after over 10 years, or even over 10-year-old vehicles, we do have a product. It's a very basically simple safety cushion for some actuators, for some sensors, for engines and gearboxes. They are listed. You can have a look on the Carexamer.com extended warranties. Click Essential and Comprehensive. There's two types, up to £500 cover and £1,000 cover, and you can have a look on the terms and conditions. Exactly, on Essential especially, it will list everything, what they do cover and what they don't cover. And Comprehensive is up to 10 years, up to 100,000 miles. They cover all mechanical and electrical aspects of the vehicle, up to £500 or up to £1,000. Again, you can compare it in a market, which is the best extended warranty for you. Depends on the price of the vehicle, you know. Our main thing, the value of the vehicle. If you're buying a Ferrari, you're not gonna get essential warranty from Carexamer, which will cover you up to £1,000 maximum, 50 pounds an hour labor price. You know, it just doesn't work that way. You know, so you need appropriate research, appropriate extended warranty for the value of the vehicle, or for the value of the repair, and what is the labor rate per hour. Extended warranty will pay out for the claim. So I hope it makes sense to somebody. Again, for the people who are big enough, they can make their own decisions, but if people who are concerned what they're buying and understand the minefield in the market, they will reconsider it and will make a right decision. I do hope that helps, and whoever watched, thanks for watching. Let me now switch this thing off.